Welcome along. Hello and a warm North Lancashire welcome to this, the Shrimps Trust podcast, which is podcast number 8, which is going rather swiftly for us. My guests tonight on this Shrimps Trust podcast, we have 4 esteemed guests. We always have somebody on from the Trust to give us their angle and a supporter's angle as well. So I'm glad we're being joined by Joel Shooter from the Trust.
Evening.
We've also got... we've been double teamed by the boardroom, and I'm going to call them the young bucks of the board because they've invigorated the boardroom, and obviously there's been so many changes since James and Charlie got involved. They've all been positive. So welcome along, James. Welcome along, Charlie.
Evening, Dave.
Evening.
I hate you, Charlie. Thank you. And finally, talking to us from his living room, which is decorated in Morecambe's colours. An old boy of ours. He appeared 20 odd times and scored 5 goals for us in the season 08-09 under Sammy Mack. And he's a welcome back, probably the youngest coach, first team coach we've ever had, Diarmuid O'Carroll.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
So we'll start, as we always do, with talk about the games that have just happened. First of all, Joel, your take on Shrewsbury on Saturday. We were at the races. We scored 2 goals in the first half. We played particularly well in the second half without really scoring, but created loads of chances. What was your take on that, Joel?
Yeah, I think kind of in line with what Stephen Robinson said post-match. I think the first half was quite even. I thought Shrewsbury showed a little bit weird, little moments, and then a little bit of magic from Tombs slipping it over the top to Adam Phillips, making that good run in behind. And we get a penalty, we take a bit of momentum, get a quick second one. Kind of in the second half, we kind of really found a groove on the ball and we moved it around so nicely. And it was a bit of a shame that we couldn't just quite get that move together to get a really good opportunity to kind of, have a good shot and get a goal in front of the home end, which would have been lovely. But at the end of the day, 2-0, I felt quite comfortable. I think we really killed the game off the way we used the ball in the second half. And it's a good win, with our first League One win. And just quite comfortable. And I felt quite safe about it. So really, really happy after that game.
Diarmuid, great to be back in front of crowds for all teams, obviously, in the past couple of weeks. Did it pan out against Shrewsbury like you planned, or didn't it go as well in the first half, but we managed to get 2 goals?
Yeah, it's a strange one. I suppose we always look for perfection, don't we? But first half we were reasonably disappointed with how we played. But you come in 2-0, you can never be disappointed. But as you said, little bits of quality. Obviously, Adam makes a great run. Toombs finds him, and then Adam's quality from the corner, and Cole is obviously in hot form at the minute, so they just fall to him. So as you said, it definitely was better second half, I think. But the good thing is that we didn't concede, another clean sheet, and it's positive. We're building again, and we've made changes from the previous match. So it's we're still getting there. Continuity will come in a few more weeks and a few more months, but definitely lots and lots of positives. That's for sure.
Yeah, particularly some of the young lads who came, who've obviously only been with us a short period of time, like Josh McPake and Alfie McCalmont, etc. There was, for me personally, just being in the home end, there was about 15 minutes in the second half where some of the stuff we were playing, there were people looking at each other going, because I've never seen any Morecambe team play such interpassing and such quick thinking and movement off the ball, Greg Lee overlapping, etc., etc. It was really, really entertaining to watch. Now, from James and Charlie's point of view here, you've got to be chuffed with with A, the crowd, and B, the reaction of the crowd.
Yeah, well, first of all, we've had 3,770 odd for the Shrewsbury game, and then 4,000 plus on a Tuesday night against Rotherham, which is just absolutely amazing. I mean, it's more than we could possibly have hoped for. So that's fantastic. And I tell you what, the crowd have just taken to everything that we're trying to do, and they've taken to the players. I mean, how do you know what to say when you've got so many signings and such a massive turnover in the space of 6 or 7 weeks? Thanks, Dermot and Stephen. But honestly, the crowd has just been absolutely fantastic. On Saturday, again, the 11 men on the pitch won comfortably, the 12th man won comfortably as well. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. Can't ask for any more. We just got to make sure we can serve enough pies and beers.
Charlie, your take on it? For a first week in this division, it couldn't really have gone, any better on Saturday against Shrewsbury, could it?
No, absolute dream world, Freeze. We've got to take stock. Dermot and I were talking before we came on. We've got to take stock of where we've come from, where we're going to. It's absolutely amazing football, and obviously we're all absolutely delighted. Looking forward to the Gillingham game on Saturday as well, which we've had with James and I've been speaking quite closely with the super fan of Gillingham. He's a really nice guy, called Matt, who they're not in a very good way with their squad and everything. I'm sure we'll talk about it later. So hopefully a good result moving forward. But I know there were frustrations with some of the crowd about queuing times and getting beers and all that sort of stuff. And that's what we're working really, really hard to do. That's why Ben Sadler's come on board, and the F&B team and the operation team working so hard to try and make the fan experience of coming to the Mazuma, not just watching the amazing football, but the stuff in the background and outside the ground and in the concourses, to make sure that's as high quality as possible, as quickly as possible. But obviously, we're not going to go from, it's going to be very difficult to go from 2002 seasons ago, no crowd at all last season, and 4,000 fans. So we're working hard in the background, and I understand from Ben that the Rotherham provision was much, much better, hopefully moving forward we'll be able to match the football and the fan experience all in one, and we'll be able to win the accolades we want to win from the AFL.
So moving on to the Rotherham game, when we looked at the fixtures, and myself and Joel were talking about this last week as we'd finished recording, we both thought that Rotherham might well be a potential banana skin for us, because Paul Warne, a great manager at this level, got them promoted. It was 8 minutes from keeping them in that division, and they've invested quite heavily. They've got a really, really good experienced squad. They've got a lot of big players, and I mean big players as in physically fit and athletes. They moved the ball particularly well. And I think overall it was probably a great performance from us to actually stay with them for many parts of the game, because we have got so many young players. Your thoughts on it, Joel?
Yeah, I think first off, Rotherham, you can see what a good side they are. I mean, obviously it's early days in the season still, but especially when you compare them to Shrewsbury. Sorry, Shrewsbury, but they were leagues ahead, I thought, and I think there won't be many tougher games, I don't think, in the division. Hopefully not either, but they were just really good. And I think, as Damon kind of alluded to earlier, about the fact that we're still in the early stages of this project, and it'll still be a few more weeks before we gel even further. I think we saw here a team. Obviously, they've had turnover over the period of years that Paul Warne's been there, but it's been the same manager for a long period of time. He's had them in the Championship. There's a way of a kind of system in place. There's a way of playing that he's used to coaching, and like the older players there will kind of help the new players come on board, and there'll be that kind of ability to gel and understand quickly. So you see that kind of a side that's quite far down in its kind of road of development. They're pretty set and they all know what they're doing very well. We're kind of building. When we're at the start of the project, we've got 18 new players now, and this is the start of something. So to compete the way we did with them, I thought was excellent. And obviously, and we only lost to a bit of a freak goal with the wind kind of catching it a little bit and dropping it over Anderson's head. So it's obviously a shame to lose, but you look at Rotherham and say that they're a cracking side. We kept pace with them for some periods. We defended really well at some points, and we move on to the next game and say that was one of the toughest ones that we're probably going to get in the division. So we can't be too downbeat about it.
Looking at that, Dermot, they presented a different set of challenges from Shrewsbury, because they'd obviously done the homework and seen that more often than not, Cole was our fulcrum, our main attacker, and they were very clever in putting when they left 3 centre backs at the back, they put one in front, one behind, and it was difficult to get it into Cole. And I'm not trying to second guess you, but it would have been nice to have an Obika or a Younger to put alongside him to sort of scupper that. But obviously we didn't have, and I suppose that's why we've got Courtney now. But talk us through the challenges on Tuesday night.
Yeah, listen, I can only echo what you said. I do. I watched their previous 3 or 4 games. I watched a few of their preseason games and obviously started the season. And the first thing I said was they are a different level to what we've played so far. Ipswich will get better. Obviously, they're a bit of a project themselves. A lot of new players as well. But even with Blackburn, Rotherham are they're the best side out of possession. So you saw even when they lost the ball, they were right on us every time, and it was everybody went in a similar way that what we want to do and what we want to establish is that as soon as you lose it, you can win it back within 3-4 seconds. So they were, I think, the intensity and as you mentioned earlier, it was they have boys that are there. They know exactly what the manager wants from them. They know exactly the system. They know the style. Wiles in midfield, Smith up front. They're top players in this division. Really, really good players. They'll do well to hold on to them. But in fairness, I think we knew it would be physical. We knew it would be up and at them. We knew they'd be reasonably direct at times. And as you mentioned, they're especially with some of their subs, they're land of the giants. Like, so it's one of them where you've got maybe Toombs competing for headers, and you know he's not going to win them. So it's getting used to the flick-ons and kind of dealing with that. But I think in fairness to the boys, they were a credit. They honestly, they were fantastic. And I think, as you said, it's Jokel's disappointed and rightly so, because he's quality, and I think he was fantastic on the night. But I don't think we deserve to win the game. I think that's the thing. We didn't do enough. We didn't threaten enough. As you said, they stopped Cole, which meant then there's a bit more pressure on Josh and Arthur and the midfielders to create. And although the boys played very well, I thought Josh played very well in particular. We didn't maybe threaten in the final third enough. And as you said, if you had Obika, you had Ayunga, or you now had Big Courtney coming in, then it's one of them options where you can change the style, you can match them up, you can go, as we did against Blackburn, you can go 3-5-2. So, but no, huge positives. The good thing is the boys were so disappointed. They were gutted to lose the game. They didn't feel like they deserved to lose it. And I think Rotherham will be, it's easy for us to say now, but I think Rotherham will be at least top 4, I would say. And they were very complimentary about us and everything else. So it'll be good. We're trying our best. The balance of the minute is that obviously we're still trying to change the style, and we're still trying to influence that a little bit to make it a bit more aesthetically pleasing. There's nothing wrong with what was done last year. Derek is a magician. He's done a fantastic job with the resources and the squad and everything that was here last year. But we have our own way, we have our own style, and we're looked to maybe play a little bit more at times, and then hopefully entertain, and then that can keep the fans coming back, please God. But it's definitely still a working project.
So I'll come to Charlie and James now, and you can answer this in your own ways. But looking at that, there's no disgrace in losing to a decent Rotherham side. I think we all agree that they are going to be at the sharp end come the end of the season. But I have to say that we might well have been defeated by their goal of the season there. What do you think, Charlie?
Yeah, it was a hell of a strike. But I think Jokel came and did an interview afterwards, and he was very, 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 very dynamic interview. I thought it was great, and he was gutted, but I don't think he should be that gutted, really. I think, like Joel said, it was a bit of a freak. He's made so many good saves beforehand. And like Dermot said, it could have been a draw, but it's hopefully we'll score better along the way.
So James, you touched on it before, and this is people listening to this will know I'm a long-time fan. This is a sad fact, but I knew it straight away, and this is going to amaze you, Joel. But we played Rotherham when we were in the Northern Premier League in the first round of the FA Cup in November 1979. I was 16. We drew 1 apiece. We got a penalty in the last 10 minutes. We were 1-0 down. They were in exactly the same division as they are now, what was then Division 3. Guess what the attendance was? 4,004. What was the attendance? It was! When they announced 4,004, I've been looking at the programme the day before, and I was thinking, they've done that deliberately. That's mental. So, James, 4,004, you've got to be happy with that on a Tuesday night, haven't you?
Yeah, really, really happy. It's funny. I was doing I was looking into Rotherham before the game, and on the basis that before the game we'd had 2 games in the third tier, and I couldn't quite work it out because you've got the different like Northern Premier Leagues and where what was Division 2, Division 3, Division 1 and everything else. But basically I worked out that they've had more than 2,000 games in the third tier, and we'd had 2 games in the third tier. So in terms of experience at the level, if that was relevant, it was quite a lot more. But yeah, 4,000 odd fans on a Tuesday night is just fantastic. You know, we've all been at games on a Tuesday night, and it's 1,200, 1,300, and that's in recent history.
Yeah.
Go back to, you know, like my early 20s and late teens, and it wasn't even 300. So it's a massive push on. And one of the big things for me was, you know, it's one thing to pat yourself on the back for something. It's another thing to actually look at what's relevant in terms of comparisons. And Accrington's a pretty relevant comparison. And, you know, Accrington was not far over 2,000 on Tuesday night. So yeah, it's a massive improvement. It's fantastic that so many people, not just from Morecambe, but from the wider area, are getting involved with the club. People who've not come before, people who have come before, have maybe lost love with it and come back into it. We just got to make sure that we're able to make the experience a really good one to keep them there. And that's partly down to Dermot and Stephen and the team. And it's partly down to making sure that people have a really good time when they're at the stadium and wherever they're standing or the city. So yeah, it's fantastic. It's surpassed expectations. The job's not done.
What was lovely and was that of 4,000 people, we can probably say near enough 3,500 were Morecambe fans, and most of them stayed to applaud the team at the end because they could see they'd put the effort in, Dermot.
Yeah, we actually chatted about that today. We discussed it. We were saying that that there's not many teams that lose 1-0 and go off to near enough a standing ovation. Like again, you look at a lot of the boys and that's massive for them. They're not used to it. Like Jokel had never played in front of a crowd before.
No.
You look at it, he comes into the season and yes, he was on loan last year, but there was nobody there. Alfie McCalmont was at Oldham last year. There was nobody there. So these boys are still learning. Yeah, so it's a massive consideration for them. But and the fans, I just echo. Obviously, it was 2008 when I was at the former stadium, but I think it was 12, 13, 1400s most weeks, and that's on Saturdays. And so to see 4,000 there and the noise and the support and fantastic, and it will be massive. It's a cliche to say, but it will be massive for us because there will be tough times, there will be dodgy runs and tough moments in games. But Jokel, arguably there's a mistake, the wind, whatever it is, but there's nobody got on him. Nobody from the crowd, nobody. Everyone was straight up supporting and going again. So no, it was fantastic. And just while I have you as well, just before I forget, we've made 18 signings, but I must say, and this is a credit to the 2 lads that are here, I think Ben is one of our best signings of the season. I think Ben's fantastic. You see the quality and the professionalism of his statement online, clarifying the things after the Shrewsbury game. But he's people won't see it because it's not as flashy as some of the things that we'll maybe put on. But Ben is first class, and he's right up there with some of the best signings we've made this year.
Good to hear. So you were saying there's going to be tough times, Dermot, and I'll come to you straight away because I want to talk about the injuries because we're not exactly been lucky with them because obviously signed John O'Beaker, he got injured, so we signed John or Younger to replace him, and now we've had to replace him. So it's a bit of a nightmare. I understand there's some good news with maybe Delaney and Wildig making appearances or possibly being fit, but I mean, give us an update.
Yeah, well, listen, we were sitting last week with I think it was 6 injured. So Andre as well, the young goalkeeper, was injured as well. So and obviously we had Kyle then Tuesday night as well with a little knock. So luckily today now training with Delaney and Wildig were full training today, which is fantastic. It might come early for them the weekend, but obviously building towards Preston and Sheffield Wednesday, it'll be big. Gibbo was out as well today running. No issues, no reaction. He is a week or so behind them, but that'll be massive. Obviously with Greg, who's done fantastic, but obviously Greg's coming off the back of a serious injury last year as well. So having the 2 in that position in particular is massive. It was a sickener. John O'Beaker, we knew John from up the road and playing for St Mirren, and John's he's a powerful guy. He's a quick guy. Ticks every box for what we're looking for. The only positive of him getting injured is we got Jonah. And he had been on our list. He was one that we didn't think was available. We when we sat down to look at the squad, and there was only 3 players when we came in, but Jonah unfortunately at the time wasn't available, so we had to move on. But it was a freak of luck that he was on our list, and as soon as Sean got injured, he became available. And now, unfortunately, we're hoping it'll maybe be 6 weeks, 8 weeks. We were worried that it was going to be longer term, but Jonah, as you could see in the Ipswich game and the Blackburn game, is a serious player. He's a serious threat. John would have been as well. He'll be a little bit longer, but now we look to Big Doofus, who's come in, and he's another one who was on our list. He's another one the manager considered a few times up in Motherwell as well, and looked at him and just couldn't get a deal over the line. So the big thing to let people know is these aren't panic signings. They're not. We wouldn't bring bodies into the building for the sake of it. We're not looking to stockpile players. We're not looking to have 10 players in the stand. We want every week for somebody to want to play and to be in the mix to play. So the big man coming in, he trained this morning. He looks sharp, looks fit, and he's hungry. He wants to prove himself, and it's a step up for him. But I think he'll surprise a few people.
Well, I sincerely hope so, but it's good to hear. I just hope, from that point of view, I hope Ryan and Aaron Wilding are okay and will be involved on Saturday. And it'd be interesting to see what Courtney does, because obviously, the need for somebody to give Cole a hand up front is fairly obvious to all of us. But so from that point of view, I don't think it was a panic signing. I just hope he can stay clear of injuries, because obviously it seems to be the cursed big man up front position, doesn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, a little bit, and I suppose Cole being the bear, the strong man that he is, he's swatting people away from injuries. But no, and the thing is, the frustrating thing for us is we plan out pre-season, we plan out our sessions to make sure that the load on the players' muscles and different things isn't too high. And Chris Guerrell, who the sports scientist here, everything is documented. So you're worried about muscle injuries, but most of them have been impact injuries, freak injuries. Jonah's a real freak injury. Jonah actually cuts in the 86th minute, should have shot probably with his right, cuts in, and that's how he gets injured. Played the game on, thought he was fine, was ready for the weekend, and the scan shows the issue. So John Obika hadn't missed a game for 2 years. So it's just one of them things. It's just, but listen, we move on, and it's given Cole the chance to really establish himself and really get the 90 minutes under his belt every week. And he's showing, which I'm delighted for him, he's showing everybody how good he is, that he's more than comfortable at this level and can continue to kick on for us. So
looking at the games coming up, I'll come to you now, Joel. Gillingham on Saturday. We know a lot about Gillingham, obviously. Verdane Oliver, he started all 3 games for them so far, ex-Morecambe, perhaps not used in his best way when he was here. But he's gone on to prove most of the supporters wrong. He was used as a big target man by us, perhaps not to his advantage, because he never played up front with anybody with him. But he's gone on to prove both at Northampton and at Gillingham that he can be quite a threat. And waiting in the wings, they've got John Akinde as well. So similar type of player who's been on big money at Lincoln in the past. So Gillingham's not going to be an easy place to go, Joel.
No, it won't. I mean, obviously with Verdane Oliver, I think what's interesting with him is, I think at this level he is, when it comes to winning the ball aerially for strikers, I don't think there are too many better around at this level. But obviously, like you say, we didn't have many people around him when he was at the club to kind of pick up on those knock-ons and the space he create, until we got Aaron Collins in, actually, right at the end of his kind of stay. That's when I thought we would start to see a bit more productivity coming from Oliver. But yeah, I kind of almost got the feeling that Jim Bentley wanted him to be more like Cole Stockton in the way that he can hold the ball up for a few seconds and then bring others into play rather than win the flick-ons, which is what Oliver's better at. But yeah, obviously that'll be, I'm sure, something that Dima would have, and Stephen would have identified, and they'll be working on. Akinde, I think they tried him up front at the first game of the season. I'm not sure if that would have worked too well, because he wants somebody maybe a little bit nippier, a bit more mobile than Akinde to kind of hoover up on those knockdowns. So maybe they'll go for that kind of thing. I think they've got Danny Lloyd. He's more, I don't know. We'll see what kind of goes on there. But yeah, they've tried a few different approaches, I think, from what I can see this season. But it'll be tough. I mean, hopefully it won't be quite as tough as Rotherham. But, there'll be some similar physical challenges. But I think I thought Lavelle and O'Connor dealt with, I mean, it was difficult to deal with that lad Smith up front for Rotherham. But I think overall they knew when to back off, because obviously a lot of the physical battles you aren't going to win. So sometimes you've got to back off and pick up those knockdowns. So I think kind of that understanding and awareness will be important for dealing with the likes of Oliver and Akinde if he does play come Saturday.
So looking at the Gillingham game, Is Kent near enough for you guys to go, James and Charlie?
It's very, very close. Yeah, it's really looking forward to it. It's one of our best friends we've known for years. He's a Gillingham fan through and through, and it's so we're going to be seeing him there. Another enemy podcast, Third Tier, have been really good with us, and the club in general. I don't know if you've listened to them; they're really good. They've got a Gillingham fan part of their presenter team, and James is on with them today. They've been very friendly to us, haven't they, James, so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's a club without enormous resources that has solidified its position in League One and has made itself a regular fixture, and they've done incredibly well in doing that. And it's not a massive fan base, and the crowds aren't enormous. So I'm looking forward to going. I think that it could be quite a different game to Tuesday night, albeit that they have some similar strengths to Rotherham. It's not a too dissimilar a style. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward. And I don't know who we're going to play in the midfield, but and I won't ask Dermot right now, but I think it might be slightly different to Rotherham.
It's a strange one because obviously Steve Evans and Paul Rayner. This is just me personally. You could have a camera on the game and a camera on them two because they're like comedy gold. How either of them don't have a heart attack during the game? There can be one contested throw-in that they should have won, and they're literally going absolutely ape. And I'm like, I was doing the commentary the last time we played, and I was like, calm down, lads, calm down. It's only a throw-in, but they were literally going mad. So that'll be interesting. Dermot, I'll come to you. Gillingham, a different set of challenges probably from Rotherham. Probably not quite as up and at them, I would say, but still a difficult team to play away from home. They're going to be happy and try and enforce their tactics on their own patch, aren't they?
Yeah. Very direct. Probably closer to Shrewsbury than they are to Rotherham, probably in their style. Without the ball, they're not as up and at them and energetic and pressing. They'll maybe prove me wrong now, but no, they're as the boy said, they're proven at this level, they're experienced at this level, they're wily, they know what to do, they put the ball in the right areas, and you have to be aware to it. Sometimes it's not pretty, but it doesn't matter. Football sometimes, as Morecambe proved last year, is about winning games. It's about putting the ball in the right areas and winning games. And if you offered us a gritty result on Saturday going down there and we maybe didn't play the beautiful style of football that we wanted, then I would probably take it, because it's a very, very difficult place to go.
So I'll move on. The win at Blackburn gave us the home tie against Preston North End, who, as we know, still have many, many season ticket holders in our postcode. Older fans will remember, Preston were the big team and we were in the Northern Premier League. So it's understandable it's an attractive tie on Tuesday night. Preston not having the best of starts, Dermot, so it's probably a dangerous time to play a side like that, I would say.
Yeah, it's one of them where you look at sides kind of up the divisions and you think, right, well, they might rest a few in a cup competition against little old Morecambe, but I don't think that'll be the case. I think they'll be coming full belt. They'll be looking to build any kind of momentum they can. They have another tough game on Saturday, another tough game for them. So they're on a poor run, but they still have quality. They still have very, very good footballers. They still have good coaches. And I know the results haven't fallen for the manager as per yet, but they'll be a wounded animal coming here, and they'll look at this as an opportunity to say, do you know what, we can go there and maybe rightly or wrongly, they'll think they can notch a couple of goals and get confidence going. But hopefully our performance against Blackburn in particular has shown that we're going to be a little bit different to that, and we fancy ourselves. We'll go into that. It's a free hit. We may as well go and enjoy ourselves. Hopefully a big crowd here again, and see if we can make a little bit more of a noise and see what happens.
I'm going to say, Dave, there's a message from Ben on that obviously we're hoping for more than 4,000, if not 5,000. So people want to buy. People should buy the tickets as soon as possible. Get them early. There might not be many on the gate at all. And how does it sound next week? We're playing Preston North End and Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah. I'll come to you now, Joel, because obviously you grew up locally, just like James, just like Charlie, just like I did. Playing Preston and then Sheffield Wednesday in the next week, you sort of like, hang on a minute, when do we play Buxton and Leek Town? You know, this is a dream come true, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is quite something. I know, obviously, we've had a bit of history with Preston over the years and the Cup, and they're all, and you know, that's always been exciting. But with Sheffield Wednesday, I remember, I think it was the FA Cup we played them quite a few years back, but they were the league above, and they look, you know, them coming down was quite exciting, and you know, now we're in the same league as them. It's going to be, I'm very much. I don't think I can make the Preston game, unfortunately, but I'm very, very much looking forward to the Sheffield Wednesday game. That's going to be absolutely cracking. And yeah, I actually, part of my degree course, I did some work experience up at Sheffield Wednesday, so there's a little bit of a connection there. So I'm kind of I'm looking forward to it even more because of that.
So I'll come to the board guys now. Obviously, you touched on it before, Charlie. We mentioned it a little bit at the end of the last podcast. Obviously, there's new challenges, and everyone who's turning up, there are going to be complaints, etc. But you've got new food stalls. You've put a new bar in behind the home goal. What's, you know, obviously we've gone contactless as well. Have we got any updates on the possibilities of the cover before the bad weather behind the home goal?
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying earlier, we are trying our best to make sure we do it the best job possible at all times. And please, and I know most people realise that, and give us a break a little bit. But you know, we are fans, as you know. We want to make sure we want it as much as you guys do. Yeah, the club wants as much as you guys do. The players, fans. So if anyone's having a little bit of a moment, they're wondering if something's been thought of to do with improving the service, we really do welcome open feedback. We saw last week with Ben's communication, which came from a lot of social media feedback and direct feedback we had.
Yeah.
We want to be the best we can possibly be. We're bringing in these new units, we're bringing in new bars. I think with Ben's, people want to refer about the cover at the back. There's an update in Ben's communication this week, wasn't it, James, that there needs to be some extra piling. So we would be nearly finished by now. But when the surveyors looked at it, there needs to be extra piling done, which was being done between games and stuff. So obviously, there's so many games, it's not as quick as it wanted to be. But James and I promised we would get this done, at some stage before the season was nearing completion. But there's so many projects. Ben is the busiest man in the world, and he was ticking everything off. We're obviously looking for a ticket office manager as well as a retail manager. But obviously, we do realise that the ticket provision, the ticket buying service is not great. Yeah, we realise that, and we're trying to make. We're trying to improve everything. Some things go slower than others, right?
Of course they do, but obviously, that's good news what you said about the piling. If you can get that piling, because at the moment, I don't think anybody's bothered. It was very pleasant on Tuesday night at the home game, because the simple fact is it's quite warm and it wasn't raining. But obviously, come October on a Tuesday night, it's going to be pretty, so the sooner that stuff like that gets done, the better. James, I'll come to you now. We've done particularly well. Not particularly well. We've done amazingly well on the season ticket situation. How's that going now? Because I know people are still buying it.
Which, I forgot that way. I can alarm it then.
I was panicking there. I thought you'd lock me in. Thanks, Amelia.
There you are. That was Dermot getting locked in.
2,400 now.
Is that what it is?
2,400. Yeah.
Go on, James.
Yeah, I mean it's been brilliant, but we've got to make sure that we match the numbers with the experience and make sure that the club can't control. Dermot and Stephen and the players are entirely responsible for what happens on the pitch, whether it's entertaining, whether there's wins. Club can control what the experience is like coming to the Mazuma. And we've got to make sure that having got that massive increase, 2,400 is it's not just 3 times our previous season ticket record, it's more than 3 times. Yeah. I'm not sure that's been achieved by an EFL team. Even Bradford, when they did a similar scheme a long time ago, I'm not sure they achieved that sort of a quantum increase. We've got to make sure we meet that with an experience that is right. And that means, everything from improving service speed in the bars to making sure there's enough pies, to making sure that people aren't queuing too long, to make sure there's enough contactless terminals and everything else. And we've almost made this problem bigger for ourselves than we were expecting by selling so many season tickets, which is the right problem to have. But it's why I'm so pleased we've got people like Ben running around like an absolute lunatic, trying to improve everything all of the time. Because if we just come into this league like Accrington did a couple of years ago, and maybe sold 200 or 300 extra season tickets, it's not a big job to sort of increase your capacity by 20-30%, which is what Accrington did. We're increasing our capacity by 100%, and so it's tough. But yeah, I'm really pleased we got Ben. He's doing it. We just got to make sure we keep trying to improve everything, as Charlie says. It's improving absolutely everything.
Dermot has joined us again from, bless him, he's come back outside.
My apologies. That was the security guard putting the alarm on. I panicked. I thought he'd lock me in. But
that's just as a matter of interest, Joel, I'd leave that in. That was quite a good comedy moment, actually.
I know, yeah, it might make the edit. I think it might make the edit.
So I'll come to Joel. You've got a couple of questions for Dermot, haven't you?
Yeah, and I won't keep them there too long because Dim is currently outside the ground, being an absolute saint, still recording with us. But so I don't want to keep him too long. But yeah, just kind of looking at how you the situation you came to with the club, and so many decisions to be made quickly on players that were already there before kind of bringing people in. How was that, and what kind of process did you go through to kind of evaluate the current players that were out of contract and work out who you're going to offer a contract to?
yeah, it was very, very difficult. We had three retained players. So Sam, Andre, and Aaron Wildick. So it's not a bad start. 3 good players, 3 boys that we definitely would have wanted to keep as well. So the challenging thing for us was we obviously had a good knowledge of a number of the players, but then also there was other players that we maybe hadn't seen in a couple of years. We hadn't seen them live in a while. We obviously had to get the opinions of obviously John Mack. His opinion was massive in it all. Barry Roach, even Wayne and Drummy and the boys as well, knowing them and being experienced from playing to get their opinion on the characters and what they're all about. And then we just spent every minute we could at the club pretty much just looking into the first and foremost the current crop of players that we had. And then it's trying to build a relationship with them, trying to build a relationship with their agent, trying to go to them and discuss our project, what we're all about, where we see them fitting in. And it's easy for us to say now, but we got the ones that we wanted. We spoke to everybody. We let everyone know. I had called everyone kind of within a 24 hours or so of when we came in and just said, listen, we're going to need a few days to get our head around everything. And then from that point, we sat down, or at least had a conversation with everybody, and just we were open and honest, and we said, listen, we feel we're going to go another direction. We obviously had fantastic success, club legends for what they've done, but some of them have moved on, unfortunately for them. But we feel like we've kept on the right core squad, because there was a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of positivity and everything coming off the back of Wembley, and we wanted to harness that, but we also recognised that we needed fresh blood and to change the style and to try and do it a little bit differently this season. We needed new bodies in, but it was a stressful couple of weeks. We were joking saying we lost weight because we never left the club, but that's probably a good thing.
That sounds really interesting, and yeah, a lot of work to do in that kind of short space of time. So when you kind of come through that and you tied up the players that you knew you wanted to keep, I think you've kind of touched upon this before, but like when you're bringing the new players in, it sounds almost like you've kind of got lists already of players you like in certain areas, and is that kind of your starting point for when you start looking at recruiting the new players? Yeah,
and I think in particular the manager from being up at Motherwell, how it worked is Motherwell were generally year to year, so you're kind of replacing half your squad every year, because more often than not 6 or 7 of them were sought after and went to bigger clubs and got more money and moved on, and then also you naturally leave 3 or 4 go. So pretty much every year he's continually, in every cycle, he was recruiting 8-10 players. So it's something that we were joking with people the other day, but we feel like we're finally getting to the end of recruitment now, but it starts again in about 6 weeks for January, because you're going to need to protect yourselves. We've 5 loan players, we've got players that are sought after, players that are doing really well. So it's a continual cycle, as well as coaching the team, to always look and see who is the next number 9. If God forbid someone knocks on the door and says we're going to take Cole Stockton to another level, then we need to have a plan, or we haven't done our job. Do you know what I mean? And that's why recruitment is such a massive part of what we do, because we back ourselves as coaches, but the players need to be good. You need to be cooking with good food, and we've managed to recruit the right types, the right age profile, the right mentality. Ambitious boys, there's nothing wrong with that. We want them to be ambitious. We want them to openly say, do you know what, I want to go again, I want to move again, I've seen what's happened in the summer with Gomez getting the move and stuff. I want to do that. I want to be the next one of them, and that's fine, because everyone wins. Everyone benefits from that. The club benefits, the fans will benefit because they'll see a fantastic player, and us as a staff and everyone else, and the club as a whole, because we can improve other elements of the club with any profits or any money that comes in, which is fantastic.
I suppose that kind of like, do you think that obviously it starts probably with Carlos, but hopefully keep on building on that and becoming a club where we say, you know what, we're not one of the big boys in this division, but if you're young and you're talented, we'll give you a chance, we'll develop you, and you know you can really show what you do here. Do you think that is something that you can kind of almost build as a bit of a selling point?
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong. People think there's something wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. You're providing a platform, and even for I mentioned staff, I mentioned Ben, I mentioned different people. People are ambitious. People are fantastic at what they do. So you want them to be fantastic at what they do. They'll give you every hour of the day. They'll work themselves to the bone, and ultimately they'll improve what we do on and off the pitch. And see if someone's life changes then from a move like Carlos gets. We've all got to be proud and delighted and absolutely ecstatic for him and his family. And if we can keep doing that once a season, twice a season, whatever it is, then, as I said, it's our job to replace them. And that's the reality of a size club we're at, and that's something that we should aim for and embrace. And we have brought in all the boys that are coming here. Wes McDonald, all these boys, they want to go to another level. Cole, I'm sure, wants to go to another level. There's not openly telling me as a coach that I want to leave you, but ultimately we want them. If Cole scores 15 goals, he's going to be very, very hard to keep a hold of. But he'd have scored 15 goals in League One for Morecambe, so he would deserve whatever came his way.
No, definitely, yeah. I tell you, like, the life of a football manager and a coach, it's non-stop, and yeah, it frightens me. I'm tired hearing about it and thinking about it already.
The manager at Rotherham was talking about it, and just before he left, he said, "Do you actually enjoy this? Because I'm not sure I do." And I actually said to him, I goes, "Well, I'm young. I'm young and busy. I enjoy this. I love it. It's a healthy obsession for me. I don't have, at the minute, I have no hobbies. This is my hobby, and I'm loving it." But and I know the manager as well. Listen, he had a couple of months out of the game after leaving Motherwell, and I think it was the right time. He'd done everything he could do at Motherwell. He'd changed the style. He'd improved the players. He'd sold. They were able to reinvest. The club was fantastic in comparison to where it was when he came in the door. So that's ultimately what it's all about. But he's a hard worker. He's a grafter, and he wants to continually push the boundaries. He's going to be on Charlie, he's going to be on James, he's going to be on Ben. He's always going to be looking for something else, because that's what we want to do. If we drive it forward, and Ben drives it forward, and now Ryan drives it forward on the media side, and the board are fantastic, they'll support wherever we can. We know we're not Man United, but if we can continue pushing forward, then I think fans and everyone else will see the benefit.
No, definitely. I think that's already the case, actually, as fans, and I'm sure Charlie and James and Freeze will agree. You know, I think it's early days, but I think there's a lot of positive feeling at the moment, definitely.
Yeah, no,
I agree from a fan's perspective, and just what we've spoken about tonight. There's some negatives with the injuries, but that's really the only negatives there are, because obviously we used to be in a situation where if we lost a player out through injury, that we'd really, really miss them. And I think, you know, looking at what Derek set up last year and what you've carried on, is the 2 players in every position, or up front 3 players in every position, because they keep getting injured. But that's just planning for the every eventuality, and that's not been something that we've done in the past, is it, Joel?
No, yeah, it's sometimes been a bit kind of here and there with the squad building, but yeah, I felt watching the building of the squad this summer, the kind of players we were, I think particularly on the wing. The players we recruited there, I thought there were some obvious kind of characteristics that we were going for, and I felt like there was a cohesion and a plan, and that was, as a fan, quite comforting to watch that kind of all start to come together.
Yeah.
Quote James about having a plan.
Sorry.
I just have a plan, stick to the plan. Most people don't have a plan. That's why you beat most people. I think, listening to Dermot tonight, all of our players have got ambition. All of the players now have got huge ambition, and it's matching that off the field as well. As Dermot says, Ryan and Ben and the board and everybody involved now is trying to push it forward, which is wonderful. And if everybody's as ambitious as Cole Stockton, Wes McDonald, and Dermot and Stephen, because you can tell everybody's going places, then the club benefits massively. So let's just all try and do as much as we possibly can. It's wonderful.
And following on from that, I'll come to Joel finally. Obviously, this is a Shrimps Trust podcast. How we doing on the old membership of the Shrimps Trust, Joel?
Very well. I'm just double checking the figures that Jack, the purse string holders, has sent me, but I believe we're on about 590 for members, and that's already this season. And last season, the total was 502 by the end of the season. So we're pushing membership right up, which has been great. I think we've got an AGM coming up sometime. You'll probably hear about that a little bit more in the coming weeks. So yeah, it's really positive. And, I think from everybody around the club, that I think it's all about there are lots of different kind of elements of positivity coming from lots of different elements of the club, whether it be boardroom, whether it be coaching and on the pitch. And, if that's something that we can kind of jump on and encourage even further, then that's kind of a big part of what we're here to do.
And I think that's been the everything we've heard tonight, both from the boardroom and from the dressing room with Dermot, has been uniformly, we're run very professionally. We're doing great on the pitch. We're doing great off the pitch. And yes, there are teething problems. People queuing for pies and complaining they've run out of chicken, ham and leek. Let's see the bigger picture, guys. But thanks to everybody for your contribution tonight. I'll thank Joel for. He's put all his intelligent books there. Look, if you can read them. Thanks to James and Charlie from the boardroom. Always valuable to have you on, just to give that perspective and let people know. Like I said, I call you the young bucks because you're a lot younger than me, but it's always great to have you on because I want to keep that contact. The communication is key, isn't it?
It's Freeze.
Thank you. And finally, Dermot, thank you for staying longer than you should have. Thank you for getting kicked out of the club live on air.
Okay. This feed will be up. It's not just a podcast, so you can see me here sitting. This is what it's all about.
Oh my God.
I like the way you sat in front of the badge, though, and then tilted it so that you could see it perfectly. That's lovely.
That's just getting the PR. That's everything going right. Ryan told me that earlier. Make sure it's up in the background.
Yeah, thank you. So thanks. I sincerely hope you get Wi-Fi in your house pretty quick and you'll come on again because you've seen we don't bite and we're pretty positive.
No, and I can only pass on. I was speaking to the manager. He was busy this evening as well. But thanks for having me. Anything you need from us, whether it be Barry, John Mack, myself, any of the staff, feel free to give us a shout. We can come on whenever you're lucky enough to try and corner one of us and get us in. But thanks for your support as well, everyone who's going to listen. And please, hopefully, we can keep it going for you for another wee while. So
this has been ShrimpsNet, the Shrimps Trust podcast. It's been episode 8. Thank you for joining us. We will be back again next week if me and Joel can communicate and get enough people corralled and interested enough to speak about it. But it's going to be a big week. We've got Gillingham, we've got PNE. We'll talk about that and we'll look forward to Sheffield Wednesday. Join us then.